Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to today's Finance 360-degree session in which we are going to discuss two very important news articles, two very important finance current affairs. Okay, the first one is regarding the new CPI series. The base year has been changed, and with the change in the base year, there is the change in the basket of the consumer price index. There is the change in the weight that all we have to discuss, as well as there is the international measures that is being followed. So that we will discuss that what is this new guideline, the new framework that we are following. Okay, so this we are going to discuss in detail in today's session so that you have the clarity about the new CPI series, the basket, the weights, and all the nitty-gritties we will be discussing in today's session. The next news article is regarding the real GDP. So for the real GDP, the base year has been changed, and with the change in the base year, there is the data that has been released for the growth. Okay, so that we will discuss. So these two news articles, they are going to be very important from your examination perspective, because the real GDP as well as the CPI that determines the inflation in the country. So both of this is very important from the examination point of view, from your syllabus point of view. Okay, so let's get started with the discussion for today, and give me a thumbs up if I'm clearly audible and the screen is visible. Okay, so I hope that everything is fine. Okay, good morning everyone, good morning and welcome to the session. So let's start with today's discussion. Okay, so before starting with the discussion, do subscribe to the YouTube channel of EduTap so that you continue getting the relevant videos, and do join our Telegram channel where you will get the PDF of the session. Okay, and the link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below. So starting with the first topic for today, that is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation has unveiled the new CPI series covering more items and services with the revised weights. So what is this new CPI series that we will discuss? We will discuss the highlights. We will discuss that what the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation has brought, what are the major changes that has been brought in the CPI series. But first of all, you have to understand that what is this CPI, what is the base year, what is the requirement of a basket, and the revised weights. So let's have the understanding first, and then we will come back to the news article. Okay, so MOSPI has unveiled the new CPI series covering more items and services with revised weights and with the revised base year. But before understanding this news article, let's understand about the consumer price index and the base year and the basic idea. Okay, so first of all, what is consumer price index? Consumer price index. See, consumer price index is the price index that shows the changes in the prices. That shows the changes, the movement of the prices. Now, the price index, it shows the movement of the prices. It shows the changes in the prices of what kind of goods? Consumer goods. Consumer goods and services. Okay, so consumer price index, it shows the movement in the prices, it shows the changes in the prices, the increase and decrease of the prices for the consumer goods and services. What are the consumer goods and services? Consumer goods and services are those goods and services that are consumed by the household. Okay, so consumer goods and services are those goods and services on which household is doing the expenditure. So basically, consumer price index is a measure that shows us the movement of the prices of the goods and services that the households purchase for the purpose of consumption over time. So this is the idea, that the consumer price index, it shows us the movement of prices, it shows us the changes in the prices of the consumer goods and services over time that households purchase for the purpose of consumption. So this is the idea. So this is the consumer price index that shows us the change in prices of the consumer goods and services. Now, what are the goods and services that are consumed by the consumers? So there is a basket of goods and services that we are consuming. We are consuming the food and beverages. We are consuming the clothing, footwear. We are buying the clothing, footwear. We are also buying various services, healthcare services we are buying, personal care services we are buying the nanny services, the babysitter services, we are buying the online subscription services and such. So we are buying different goods and services. So this is a basket of the goods and services that we are consuming. Okay, so this is a basket of goods and services that the households are consuming. So consumer price index, it shows us the fluctuation in the prices, it shows us the movement of the prices of the goods and services that is consumed by the consumers, that is consumed by the households. Okay, so this is the idea. So in the consumer price index, the index value is calculated by taking the current year prices of the basket of goods and services and divided by the base year prices of the same basket of goods and services that is consumed by the consumers, multiplied by 100. So basically the index value is showing us the change in the prices from the base year. So this base year, it provides a reference point, it provides a comparison point for the other years. Okay, so base year prices or the base month prices, they are basically providing the comparison points against which the other years can be compared. So CPI index value or the index value is generally calculated taking the current year value divided by the base year value multiplied by 100. So base year is nothing else, it is a chosen year taken as a reference point to compare the prices over time, to compare the value over time. Okay, so the index value for the base year is kept at 100. Okay, and against this value the other values are compared. So that is the idea. So what is the consumer price index? It measures the changes in retail prices of goods and services households buy for consumption. So basically under the consumer price index, this is a price index where we are seeing the movement of the prices, the ups and downs and the changes in the prices for the goods and services that is consumed by the household. Base year is the reference year whose value is decided at 100, and base year provides a reference point against which other years can be compared. Now the previous series had a base year of 2012. So CPI series. So the previous series that shows us the movement in the prices of the goods and services. So this CPI series had a base year of 2012. Now you can understand that we were comparing 2012 with 2026. We were comparing 2012 or we were comparing 2025 with 2012. Now from 2012 till 2024, 2025, 2026, we can understand that there are major changes that have happened in the consumer behavior, in the consumption patterns of the households. We have started using more of the online services. We have started using more of the different kind of services, like the digitalization has happened, because of which we are using the digital services and such. Okay. So from the 2012 till now, there are various different services or there are various different goods and products that the households have started to utilize. Okay, there is the change in consumption patterns, not only in the urban areas but also in the rural areas. So it was found that okay, we need to change our reference period, we need to change our reference point, we need to change the base year, because since 2012 till now there is a lot of changes that have happened in the consumption patterns of the individuals. We will discuss that how the consumption patterns have changed, but this is the basic idea. So previously the CPI series had the base year, that is the reference point, that is the comparison point of 2012. But now as we know that 2012 and 2026, a decade has passed, and in the decade there are various changes that have happened in the consumption patterns, due to which it was analyzed and it was discussed that now we need to have a different reference period, now we need to have a difference comparison point, and that's why the new base year has been identified, that is 2024. So this is the new base year for the CPI series. Now against this base year the other years will be compared. Okay, so previous series had a base year of 2012 and was based on consumption expenditure patterns of 2011-2012. So you can understand that the previous series was based on the base year of 2011, based on the base year of 2012, sorry. And the consumption expenditure patterns were seen for 2011-2012. Okay, so previous series, the previous CPI series was based on the base year 2012 and was based on consumption expenditure patterns of 2011 and 2012. So that means the basket of goods and services, for which we were seeing the price changes were according to the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012. CPI series had the base year, that is the reference point, of 2012. As well as the CPI series, we were seeing the consumer price index, we were seeing the price changes, and with these price changes we were seeing the inflation, that is the CPI inflation. We were seeing the consumer price index inflation, that how the prices are rising for the consumer goods and services. So we were seeing the consumer inflation, consumer price index inflation, with the basket of goods and services that were dependent on the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012. So you can understand that according to the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012, the basket was formed for the goods and services that the consumers are consuming, that the households are consuming. Now you can understand that since 2011-2012 till now, there is a lot of change that has happened in the consumption pattern, in the behaviors of the people, in the behaviors of the households. The digitalization, the urbanization is rapidly happening, and with that the consumption patterns are also changing. And with the change in the consumption patterns, this basket of the goods and services might not be the correct representation of the household expenditure. Okay, and that's why it was identified that we need to change the base year, as well as we need to change the basket of the goods and services according to the new data of the household consumption expenditure pattern. So now the new base year is 2024 and the new household consumption expenditure pattern that we are seeing is for 2023-24. Any confusion here? Previously, we were using 2012 as the base year and we were seeing the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012. According to the consumption expenditure pattern, there was the basket of goods and services that was representing the households, the expenditure of the households. But now it has been said that the base year is changed to 2024 and the household consumption expenditure pattern will be seen according to the 2023-24 and the basket of the goods and services will be according to the new household consumption expenditure patterns. Okay, so this is the idea. So the previous series had a base year of 2012 and was based on, so previous consumer price index series had the basket of goods and services according to the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012. Now, and this was the previous basket of goods and services. So food and beverages, pan, tobacco, intoxicants, clothing, footwear, housing, fuel and light and miscellaneous. These were the 6 groups that were identified according to the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012. Now it was said that the households are doing the expenditure on these 6 groups, and that's why the consumer price index or the price changes and the inflation has to be seen for these groups, for these goods and services. Okay. Now it has been said that the base year of the new CPI series, is 2024. That is a newer period has been taken as the reference point to compare the coming years, period. Okay. So the item basket, now if the base year has changed to 2024, that means we are focusing on the recent or more near base year. So we are taking a reference period of 2024. So with the base year, the item basket and the corresponding weights are also changing, and they are based on household consumption expenditure survey. So now with the change in the base year for the consumer price index series, there is also a change in household consumption expenditure survey that we are using. Okay, so consumption expenditure pattern has changed. The consumption expenditure pattern of the people have changed since 2012 till 2026. So with the change in the consumption expenditure patterns, we need to take the new data, that is the household consumption expenditure survey we will be utilizing of 2023-24 to have the new basket of the goods and services on which the households are spending. I hope this is very much clear that with the base year of 2024, there is the household consumption expenditure survey of 2023-24 that we are using. So this base year 2024 is the new reference point against which we will be comparing the other years for the consumer price index, for the changes in the prices of the goods and services for the consumers. And this household consumption expenditure survey, it shows us the new consumption expenditure pattern of the households, and this new consumption expenditure pattern of the households provide us the new basket of goods and services on which the households are spending. So households are spending on food and beverages, pan, tobacco, intoxicants, clothing and footwear, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels. Before we were only taking housing separately, but now we are taking the housing, water, electricity, gas, because if you are living in the house, like think about it, if you are living in an apartment or if you are living in your own house, you are paying for the house rent as well as you are paying for water, electricity, gas, and you are paying for other fuels and such. Furnishing, you also spend on furnishings, household equipment, routine household maintenance also. health also, you are paying for your health, transportation, information and communication. You are also paying for recreation, sport and culture. Now nowadays there is more expenditure that is happening on your gym equipments and such, on your recreational activities, sport activity, culture and such. Education services, you are also paying for restaurants and accommodation services, personal care, again gym equipments and such, social protection and miscellaneous goods and services, like the babysitter fees you are paying, or nanny, for the nanny you are paying, for the OTT subscriptions you are paying, for the online subscriptions you are paying, for the online services you are paying. So this is the idea, that now the consumption patterns have changed. Before, the consumption patterns, like before, the old CPI series was dependent upon the consumption expenditure patterns of 2011-2012, where the consumption the goods and services on which the consumption was happening was considered to be these 6 groups: clothing, footwear, housing, food and beverages, pan, tobacco, intoxicant, and miscellaneous, that is other services. Okay, but now there is the bifurcation that has been done as per the new household consumption expenditure survey, that is of 2023-24. As per this expenditure survey of the households, there is the new division and the new goods and services basket that has been identified. Now if we have a new basket, that means the new basket will have new weights also. So I have brought the weights in the descending order from the largest number to the smallest number, so that you can see that food and beverages have been given the highest weight, because the households, they do spend a lot on food and beverages. We all spend a major chunk of our income on the food and beverages. Okay, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels, this has the second highest weightage, then transportation, then clothing and footwear, then health, then personal care, social protection and such, then furnishings, household equipment, then information and communication, then restaurants, accommodation, education, then education, and then pan, tobacco, intoxicants, then recreation, sport and culture. So this is how the weights have been bifurcated. Okay, the highest weight, that you have to remember, that the highest weight is given to the food and beverages, the second highest is given to the housing, water, electricity, gas and fuels. So this is the idea. So before, in 2011 CPI series, the basket of the goods and services was divided in between 6 groups on the basis of the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012. But now, as per the 2024 CPI series, that is the CPI series that has a base year of 2024, the goods and services basket that the households are consuming, they are divided in between 12 divisions. 12 divisions. So rather than having 6 groups, now we have 12 divisions. Okay. And these 12 divisions are as per the household consumption expenditure survey of 2023-24. Any confusion, anyone? So the base year of the new CPI series is 2024, where we are taking the value of the CPI as 100. So consumer price index for 2024 has the value 100. So this is the base year, this is the reference period against which we will be comparing 2025-2026. Okay. The latest household consumption expenditure survey of 2023-24 is used for updating the item basket, that is the goods and services basket that the households are consuming, with weights. The weights have also been changed. So before, the food and beverages had the weight of 45.86%. So before, the food and beverages had the weight of 45.86%, but now the food and beverages have the weight of 36.75%, because you can understand that your expenditure is divided amongst your gym payments, and for gym equipments you are paying, for the nanny services, for the babysitter you are paying, you are also paying for the OTT subscriptions and such. So there are various expenditures that you are doing. So your expenditure has been further bifurcated. Okay, so food and beverages now has a lesser weight of 36.75% in comparison to the previous weight that was given to food and beverages. Okay, so this is the idea. So the weights and the item basket have been changed for the new series. Coming to the next point, that is your group wise weights as per CPI 2012. So these are the group wise weights. Okay, this is for the CPI combined. This is for the CPI combined. Now here you can see that for the consumer price index, it is released for the rural, it is released for the urban, and the CPI is also released for the combined, that is rural and urban combined. So we focus on CPI combined. We focus on CPI combined. Okay. So here because CPI combined is for the whole of the country, rural areas plus the urban areas. Now, the group wise weights as per CPI 2012 structure. Now, this structure is not being followed. In 2024 also, we are not following this structure. We are following this structure for the urban areas, for the rural areas and such. Okay, so basically this structure is no longer being followed. If this structure would have been followed, then the rates would have been different. If this structure would have been followed for 2024, then the rates and the percentages would have been different, because the weights have been different. If this group wise weights were being followed, or if this group was being followed, this 6 group structure, if this was being followed, then there would have been different weights. For 2024. But it is said clearly that this group wise weights was only followed in 2012. Now we are not going to follow this group wise weights. Now we are following the 12 division structure. Okay, so this was previous group wise weights of CPI 2012. This was the idea. Now the change in structure between both the series is due to adoption. Now change in structure from the 6 group structure to the 12 division structure. So the change in structure that has happened, it is because of the adoption of COICOP 2018 framework. Okay, that is, we have adopted the classification of individual consumption according to purpose 2018. So CPI 2024 series adopts the classification of individual consumption according to purpose 2018. It's replacing the earlier structure comprising 6 broad groups. So now we are not going to follow these 6 broad groups. Now we are following the 12 division structure. Okay, the latest classification system has been developed by United Nations Statistics Division. Under the revised framework, expenditure is classified into 12 divisions. Under the 12 division, like in the second level, there are 43 groups, 92 classes, 162 subclasses, enabling and 358 items at the last level. So basically now we have shifted away from the 6 group structure to the 12 division structure, and this structure is as per the classification of individual consumption according to purpose that was developed by United Nations Statistics Division, so that we are following the international guidelines, or we are following the international norms. Okay, so the new structure is as per the United Nations Statistics Division. Under the revised framework, there are 12 divisions that we know about. Under the 12 divisions, at the second level, there are 43 groups. Then at the next level, there are 92 classes. Then at the next level, there are 162 subclasses. And at the next level, there are 358 items that are under these 12 divisions. Okay, so this is the broad idea. So before, there was the 6 group structure that we were following with the base year of 2012, but now it has been said that we will not follow the 6 group structure. Okay, if we had followed the same 6 group structure, then there would have been different weights for the 2024, but we are not following this 6 group structure. Now we are going to follow the 12 division structure. Okay, and 12 division structure with the base year of 2024. And for the 12 division structure, the weights have been determined on the basis of household consumption expenditure survey. That is the basic idea. Okay, so this is what we have discussed. Now coming to the major update, the index reference period. See the term index reference period. If a question comes on the index reference period, what is the index reference period? So index reference period means the reference period against which the consumer price index is compared, or reference point against which the CPI value is calculated. So index reference period is nothing else. It is the reference period that is 2024. The base year, that is the reference period of 2024, where the CPI value is 100. Now price reference period. What is the price reference period? Now the base year is 2024. Base year is 2024. That means the reference period is 2024. That means for the price reference period, the 2024 is the period. So from January 2024 till December 2024. Okay, so price reference period, it is the period during which the base year prices are collected. So the price reference period is the period for which the base year prices are collected. So base year prices are collected from Jan 2024 till December 2024. Okay, calendar year of 2024. So price reference period is the period during which the base prices are collected. The base year prices are collected. So base year is 2024. So the base year prices will be collected from Jan 2024 till December 2024. As simple as that. Okay. Next is weight reference period. So weights are divided according to what? The weights and the basket of the consumer goods and services. This is decided as per the household consumption expenditure survey. So weight reference period, it is the period for on the basis of which the weights are calculated. So weights are calculated on the basis of household consumption expenditures survey of 2023-24. So weight reference period is 2023-24. Base year is 2024. Price reference period is Jan to December 2024, and the weight reference period and the basket reference period is 2023-24, according to which the weight and the basket is decided, according to which the 12 divisions are decided for the base year and for the new CPI series. Chalo. Now revision of item basket and coverage. So at all India level, that is why we focus on CPI combined. See, CPI combined is the most important CPI measure. Okay, so CPI combined, this is for the whole of the country, that we are seeing the fluctuation in the prices for the basket of goods and services that is consumed by the household. CPI combined, through this we calculate the inflation, that okay, if the prices are increasing for the consumer price index combined, that means there is inflation in the country. Okay, so through the CPI combined we calculate the inflation in the country. At the all India level, the number of weighted items has increased from 299 to 358. So before 299, these were the items that were taken in the consumer goods and services, or these were the items that were taken in the basket of the goods and services for the consumer price index. Okay, but now there is, under the new CPI series, that is CPI 2024 with the base year of 2024, the number of items that will be taken under the CPI goods and services basket are 358. So the goods items have increased from 259 to 308, and the services items have increased from 40 to 50. So you can understand that the total items that have increased from 299 to 358. Okay, so the number of items in the basket of goods and services for the consumers have increased from 299 to 358. This expansion strengthens the representation of the services sector, which has assumed greater importance in the household expenditure in our time. Now, key enhancements that have happened, the key changes that has happened: first time inclusion of rural house rent for improving coverage of rural housing consumption. See what happened, that earlier in the 2011-2012 consumption expenditure patterns, it was assumed that the rural areas, in this there was the self-occupied houses. The people live in self-occupied houses. That means the people do not have to give rent because they are living in self-occupied houses. So as per the consumer expenditure pattern of 2011-2012, it was assumed, it was seen that okay, the rural areas, they have the self-occupied houses, the people do not have to give rent in the rural areas. But now, as we are not seeing the consumption expenditure pattern of 2011-2012, now we have the household consumption expenditure survey of 2023-24 that collects the consumption expenditure patterns of the new time, of the recent time. So as per the consumption expenditure pattern of 2023-24, it has been identified that the rental base is increasing in the rural areas. Okay, so rental market in the rural areas has expanded significantly. So there are rental markets in the rural areas also, and this household consumption expenditure survey has collected the data through the survey in the rural areas and urban areas. This household consumption expenditure survey has collected the data for the rents that the people are giving in the rural areas. Okay, so now we have the data for the rent that the people are giving in the rural areas. So first time inclusion has happened of the rural house rent for improving coverage of rural housing consumption, because in the rural areas now the people have to spend for the rent also. So previously, according to the previous consumption expenditure patterns that we were following, so it was assumed that the rural households or the rural people, they are not spending on the rent because they have the self-occupied houses. But now, as per the new consumption expenditure patterns, as per the 2023-24 data, it has been found that there is the rental market in the rural areas that have become significant, and the people are paying. There are various people that are paying the rent in the rural areas. So rural markets are expanded and the people have to spend on the rent also in the rural areas. So there is the first time inclusion of rural house rent for improving coverage of rural housing consumption. Okay, so this is for the first time that the rural house rent has been included. Rural house rent has been included in the consumption goods and services basket. Now strengthen the representation of modern consumption items such as online media services and fuels such as the compressed natural gas, the piped natural gas and such. Improved coverage of data available. Now what is happening that not only the items have been increased, but there is also the improved data that we are able to use. Okay, with the improved coverage of data available, so there is improved coverage of data available on digital and administrative sources. There is the improved data that we are using with the telephone charge data, rail fare, airfare, fuel, postal charges, online media and streaming services. So with all the new data, new and improved data that we have, so we are able to use all the available data or improved coverage of data availability that is happening. So improved coverage of data available on digital and administrative sources. Now there is improved coverage, improved usage of the available data that is going to happen. Okay, so this is the idea. So revision of the item basket that we have discussed from 299 to 358 items. Key enhancements: rural house rent is included in the basket of the goods and services that is consumed by the households. Okay, now strengthened representation is provided to the modern consumption items, online media services, the fuels and such. Improved usage and the improved coverage of the available data on the digital and administrative sources. Now the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, it plans to institutionalize the base revisions at regular intervals. As per global practices, it should be done every 3 to 5 years. The base revisions has to be done so that we have the more recent reference point against which we can compare the other years. Okay, now coming to the summary, the base here has been revised from 2012 to 2024. The weight source or the basket source according to which the basket of goods and services is decided was Consumer Expenditure Survey of 2011-2012. Now it is Household Consumption Expenditure Survey of 2023-24, according to which the new basket has been decided with 12 divisions, and here the weights have also been decided as per the Consumption Expenditure Survey. Okay, total items tracked previously were 299. Now the total items tracked in the basket are 358. The food and beverage was previously weighed at 45.86%. Now it is weighed at 36.75%, and this is the highest weight that is given in the divisions. Okay, housing and fuel weight. So previously the housing only, because we were taking only housing, so it had the weight of 10.07%. Now the housing, because it is combined with water, electricity, fuel, and we are also seeing the rural housing rent and such, so the housing weight has been increased to 17.67%. that is second highest weight. The previous CPI series had the base year of 2012. Okay, now the new CPI series has the base year of 2024. So base has been revised from 2012 to 2024, 12 divisions in place of 6 groups in accordance to the classification of individual consumption according to purpose. Release of all India and state level item indices for rural, urban and combined sectors. So the basket has been released for rural, urban and combined sectors. New edition, rural housing is the new edition in the new series, as well as online media service providers, streaming services, value-added dairy products, barley and its product, pen drive, external hard disk, attendant, babysitter and exercise equipments. They are added in the new items. They are added in the new series in the new items. Items that have been removed from the new series are the VCR, VCD, DVD player and hiring charges of these equipments, radio, tape recorder, clothing second hand, CD, DVD, audio, video, cassettes and coir or rope. So these kind of items have been removed because they do not have such huge chunk of expenditure of the people. Okay, now coming to the next part of the session, that is about the GDP new base year. So any confusion till now? Mayur, because we have to finish the session. Okay, okay, now coming to the GDP new base year 2022-23. So GDP new base year. So for the GDP also there is the new base year. See, we calculate the real GDP and there is the current, or there is the nominal GDP. There is the real GDP and there is the nominal GDP. Okay, in the real GDP we take the current production and we take the base year prices. Okay, in the nominal GDP, we take the current production and we multiply it with the current prices. Now you can understand that if the production is increasing, with the increase in production, if the prices are also increasing, so nominal GDP will increase by a greater proportion. Let's say the current production is decreasing, while the current prices are increasing by a greater proportion. So if current production is decreasing, the production is decreasing, the output is decreasing, but the prices are increasing by a greater proportion. So nominal GDP will still increase. So that means even with the decreasing production, the nominal GDP will increase. That's why it was said that it is not a good measure of economic growth in the country. Even when the production is decreasing, just because of inflation, just because of increase in prices, the nominal GDP is increasing. Now, there is the real GDP that is considered to be a better measure of economic growth, because here we are taking the base year prices, that is the prices of a previous year. So base year prices were previously 2011-2012 prices. So 2011-2012 prices, these prices were taken, the prices of 2011-2012, they were taken to calculate the real GDP. Now we multiply the current production of the current year with the base year prices, with the prices of 2011-2012. Okay, that's how we calculated the real GDP. Now it is said that the base year 2011-2012 is a very old year. Okay, that was the reference point previously, but now it has been said that we can have the new reference point, we can have the new base year, and for the GDP the new base year is 2022-23. Any confusion? So this is the new base year, that is for the real GDP. Now we have the current production and we will take the base year prices, that is the prices of 2022-23. So this is the idea. Now why the base year has been changed? Economic change. So it can show the economic change, new sectors, the consumption patterns are changing, the structural changes are coming in the sectors, there are the different changes that are coming in the economy. So to represent that changes and to represent the newer era of the period, the newer period, there are the new base years that have been brought forward. Global standards to align with the UN best practices, to align with the global standards. That's why the base year has also been changed. Better data. So we have the better data and we have the new form of data, like through the goods and services tax, through the e-Vahan, through the household consumption expenditure survey, PFMS or labor force survey and such. So we have the new data which we can use with the new base years. Okay, with the new reference point. So this is the basic idea. We will also discuss about this IIP, but first let's discuss about the new base year for GDP. So why GDP base year has been revised to financial year 2022-23? So the year 2022-23 has been selected as the new base year as it represents the most recent normal period. Following the disruptions in 2019 to 2021, during this time period there was the disruption that was caused by the COVID-19 and such. The years of 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021 were heavily impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, which temporarily distorted the consumption trends and industrial activity. Okay, so why GDP base year has been revised to financial year 2022-23? Basically because the previous years were more disruptive, they were having the turmoil, but now the 2022-23 it is considered the most recent normal period in the recent time. That's why this has been selected as the base year, because the base year or the reference point should be some normal standard period. Okay, now coming to the next point, GDP at current prices. So that means nominal GDP, it is calculated by taking the current production and multiplying the current production with the current prices. Okay, GDP at constant prices, that means real GDP, where we calculate the real GDP by taking the current production in the current year, multiplying it with the base year prices. Okay, base year prices are the prices of 2022-23 now, because this is the constant period, this is the base year period. So you can understand that GDP at constant prices, so from 2023-24 to 2024-25, here the GDP growth in 2023-24, the GDP growth was 7.2%. Okay, so the real GDP growth was 7.2% in 2023-24, while the real GDP growth in 2024-25 was 7.1%. The nominal GDP growth in 2023-24 was 11%, while the nominal GDP growth in 2024-25 was 9.7%. 8%. So this is the idea. The new data has been released as per the new base year. This is the base year. Now you can understand that this is the base year. That means this is the year. If we are considering the base year, the real GDP and the nominal GDP will be equal. Nominal GDP will be equal. Why? Because the current production is equal. Now the real GDP, the base year is 2022-23. Okay, so this is the base year prices. Here the nominal GDP, the current prices are what? The current prices are the prices of the current year, that is 2022-23 only. So in the base year, always remember that in the base year, the nominal GDP is equal to real GDP, because in the real GDP we have the current production multiplied by the base year prices, that are the prices of the 2022-23. Now for the same year, if we are calculating the nominal GDP, we are taking the current production multiplied by the current prices. Current prices are the prices of 2022-23. So current prices, base year prices are same, current production is same. So nominal GDP is equal to real GDP. So for base year, the nominal GDP and real GDP will be same. For the other years, you can understand that in the real GDP, we are comparing and we are calculating the current production. We are calculating the current production at base year prices. Any confusion here? Any confusion? Chalo. So this is the idea that GDP at constant prices is basically the current production multiplied by the base year prices. Base year has been changed from 2011-2012 to 2022-23. Now, base year revision of national accounts. So MOSPI associates technical experts and representatives of central ministries and state or union territory directorates of economic and statistics with the compilation of national account statistics. So MOSPI, it associates with the technical experts, it associates with the representatives of the central ministries and state or union territory directorates of economic and statistics with the compilation. So MOSPI, in association with these, releases the compilation of the national account statistics. It releases the data for the GDP, GDP at current prices, GDP at constant prices and such. This is in the form of Advisory Committee on National Account Statistics, which is a permanent. So basically MOSPI associates with the technical experts and the representatives, and this is in the form of Advisory Committee on National Account Statistics, which is a permanent standing committee. So this advisory committee that advises the MOSPI, this is Advisory Committee on National Account Statistics. This is a permanent standing committee and this is reconstituted from time to time. At present, the Advisory Committee on National Account Statistics, this is headed by Professor Bishwanath Goldar, and the role of the committee is to advise MOSPI. And on the recommendation of the committee, base year has been changed from 2011-2012 to 2022-23. So remember that this Advisory Committee on National Account Statistics that advises the MOSPI, that consists of the technical experts, that consist of the representatives. Okay, so Advisory Committee on National Account Statistics, it consists of the technical experts, representatives from the state or union territory DES. So this advisory committee is currently headed by Professor Bishwanath Goldar, and it recommended the base year change from 2011-2012 to 2022-23. So now coming to the last point, so we have discussed about the GDP new base year, we have discussed about the CPI new base year. Now coming to the IIP. So IIP is basically the index of industrial production. So when we calculate the index value, we are basically trying to see the, we are basically trying to compare, we are trying to compare the current year industrial production divided by the base year industrial production. Okay, so the index of the industrial production, here we are trying to see the changes or the improvement or the increase or decrease that has happened in the industrial production. Okay, so index of industrial production is defined as a summary measure that measures the changes in the volume of industrial production of the representative basket of industrial products. So here we are taking a basket of the industrial products and we are trying to see the change in the industrial production, the change in the production of these products, how much increase or how much decrease has happened of the production, okay, during a particular period with respect to a chosen base year. So basically, base period, in this there was the industrial production, the volume of industrial production, and we are comparing the current period. Industrial production volume multiplied by 100. So index value of the industrial production, the index value for the industrial production, it is the current period industrial production volume divided by the base period industrial production volume. Okay, let's say in the base period the value was 100 and the current is 150. So you can understand that this is how we can see that what is the increase that has happened in the industrial production, or what is the valuation increase that is happening, or if there is an increase or decrease. The IIP for the base period is taken as 100 only, and that for the study period shows the percentage increase. So this is the basic idea, that IIP, it is the index of industrial production that shows us the changes in the volume of industrial production in comparison to the chosen base year. That in comparison to the base year, how much is the change that has happened in the industrial production in the current period. So that is the IIP, for which the new base year is 2022-23. Any confusion? Chalo. Now coming to the first question. The first question is in front of you. I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. So read the question and try to answer this question. With reference to the newly introduced CPI series, consider the following statements, and you have to tell that which of the above statements are correct. Okay. The second question is in front of you. As per the CPI 2024 combined weights, which of the following divisions has the second highest weight after food and beverages? So after food and beverages, the second highest weight is provided to what category in 12 divisions? So in the 12 divisions, the second highest weight is provided to which category? So try to answer this question. Okay. So this is it. Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining the session. I hope you enjoyed the session. Okay. If there is any confusion, that you can write in the comment section below, but do try to give